Simon Cowell is known for one thing, being impossible to move. For decades, he sat in judgment, his face a mask of indifference while performers bare their souls. But on a single night in 2016, something shattered that armor completely. A young girl from West Virginia walked onto a stage, and by the time she finished singing, the man who never cries was wiping tears from his face. What he heard wasn't just a performance, it was a moment that forced him to confront something deeper. The question everyone asked afterward was simple: what did the judges see in Courtney Hadwin that broke through Simon Cowell's walls? But the real story behind those tears is far more complicated, and far more human, than anyone realized. Courtney Hadwin was 14 years old when she walked into an America's Got Talent audition in 2016. She wasn't famous. She didn't have a team of coaches or a social media following. She came from Ashburn, West Virginia, a small town where dreams don't usually make headlines. Nobody in that audition room knew her name. The producers looked at her and saw just another kid hoping for a shot. That's what made what happened next so shocking. Courtney wasn't like the typical AGT contestants. She had been singing since she was very young, but she wasn't performing in competitions or traveling the country. She was singing in her bedroom, in her car, anywhere she could. Her voice was raw and powerful, shaped by a lifetime of listening to rock legends like Pink, Janis Joplin, and Aretha Franklin. But more than that, her voice carried something else, something real. The audition stage can be intimidating. Thousands of people try every year. Most don't make it past the first round. The judges see performance after performance, and after a while, they all start to blend together. But then someone steps up, and you feel it immediately. This is different. When Courtney started singing, the entire room shifted. She performed an original song called Faded, and from the very first note, you could hear it wasn't just technical skill. There was pain in her voice. There was honesty. There was a girl pouring everything she had into those lyrics, right there in front of four of the most powerful people in entertainment. Mel B was visibly moved. Heidi Klum leaned forward. But Simon Cowell, the man famous for destroying people's dreams with a single word, sat perfectly still. The performance ended, and for a moment, there was silence. Then something unexpected happened. Simon didn't critique her technique. He didn't focus on what she could improve. Instead, he looked at this 14-year-old girl from West Virginia and said something that would follow her for the rest of her life: "You're going to be a star." But nobody knew at that moment what those words would actually cost her. After that audition, everything moved fast. Too fast. Courtney didn't just get through to the next round, she became a phenomenon. Videos of her performance spread across social media. People who had never heard of her were suddenly sharing clips, talking about her, predicting her future. The internet had decided, this girl was going to be the next big thing. But here's what most people don't understand about viral moments. They're not gentle. They're not kind. They consume you. Courtney advanced through America's Got Talent, week after week. Each performance was live-streamed to millions of people. Each time, more pressure built. More expectations formed. More strangers invested in her success or failure. She was 14 years old, dealing with the kind of attention that would break most adults. The performances got more intense. She sang covers of powerful songs, songs by artists who had spent decades perfecting their craft. And Courtney, still a teenager, was being compared to them. Critics were analyzing every note, every emotion, every decision she made on stage. Some loved her. Some said she was overhyped. Some questioned whether she was too young to understand the depth of what she was singing. What nobody talked about was the isolation. While millions of people were watching her, Courtney was essentially alone. She was a kid trying to compete as an adult. She was being judged by the entire world. She couldn't go to the mall without being recognized. She couldn't post on social media without hundreds of comments appearing within minutes. Simon Cowell saw all of this. He watched as this young girl handled pressure that most people never experience. And something about watching her push through, watching her refuse to break, affected him deeply. By the time she reached the finals, Simon's investment in her journey had become personal. This wasn't just another contestant anymore. This was a girl he believed in, a girl he saw potential in, and a girl who was being tested in ways the industry often doesn't acknowledge. Yet what happened in those final weeks revealed a painful truth about the entertainment industry itself. The finals of America's Got Talent arrived. This was it. Millions of viewers would be watching. This performance could change Courtney's life forever, or it could become a moment she'd have to recover from. She chose to sing Bang Bang by Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj, and Jessie J. It's a difficult song. It requires range, power, and control. Courtney delivered all of it. But something was different this time. As she sang, you could see the weight of everything she'd been through. The pressure wasn't hidden anymore. It was visible in every breath, every note, every moment of vulnerability she shared with that audience. Simon Cowell watched from his chair. His face, usually guarded and controlled, began to change. By the end of the performance, tears were running down his face. Not a single tear. Multiple tears. This was a man known for his coldness, his criticism, his refusal to be emotionally manipulated, and he was crying. After the performance ended, Simon stood up. He didn't just applaud. He gave her a standing ovation. And when he spoke, his voice was different. It was softer. It was honest. He talked about what he saw in her, not just as a performer, but as a person. He acknowledged the pressure she was under. He recognized her courage. And most importantly, he seemed to be confronting something about himself, about the industry, about what we ask young people to endure for entertainment. The audience was silent. This wasn't the Simon Cowell they knew. This was someone different. This was someone who had been genuinely moved by a 14-year-old girl's courage. But here's what most people missed: Simon's tears weren't just about Courtney's talent. They were about something deeper. They were about recognizing a young person carrying an impossible burden, and realizing that the industry, the very industry that had created this moment, often doesn't protect young people in that position. The standing ovation was powerful. The tears were real. Yet the aftermath would reveal the complicated reality behind that beautiful moment. Courtney made it to the finals. She was one of the last contestants standing. Everything seemed like it was leading to a triumph, a young girl from a small town becoming a star on one of the biggest stages in the world. But then something happened that changed the narrative completely. She didn't win. In fact, she finished fourth. The Golden Buzzer winner that year was magician Eric Chien. It wasn't the storybook ending everyone expected. And what happened after that moment revealed something crucial about the entertainment industry that rarely gets discussed openly. After AGT, Courtney faced a choice that many young performers face: what comes next? She had millions of viewers who had watched her journey. She had validation from one of the most powerful judges in television. But she also had a target on her back. She had people with expectations. She had an industry ready to either lift her up or chew her up. The pressure didn't decrease after the show ended, it increased. Record labels wanted to sign her. Managers wanted to represent her. Everyone had opinions about what she should do, what she should sound like, how she should evolve. A 14-year-old girl was suddenly surrounded by adults making decisions about her career, her image, her future. Simon Cowell's tears had been real. His belief in her was real. But what neither of them could control was the machinery of the entertainment industry. It moves fast. It's cold. It cares about money and ratings and market positioning. Courtney had to navigate all of that while still being a teenager. She was trying to figure out who she was as a person while also being forced to figure out who she was as a brand. Those aren't always the same thing. The other thing nobody talked about was the mental health impact. Viral fame at 14 changes you. Being judged by millions of people, being compared to professional artists, being told you're special, and then watching the world move on to the next sensation, it takes a psychological toll that isn't always visible. But what happened to Courtney over the next few years would show exactly how complicated her story really was. After America's Got Talent, Courtney Hadwin's life changed in ways both visible and invisible. On the surface, doors opened. She signed with a management company. She released music. She performed at venues and events. She had opportunities that most musicians dream about. By every external measure, the story seemed to be working out. Simon's belief in her had been justified. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Courtney struggled with the pressure of living up to expectations. She was no longer just a girl with a dream, she was a girl with a brand, with obligations, with people depending on her success. Every new release was scrutinized. Every performance was compared to that viral AGT moment. Every decision she made as an artist was analyzed by strangers on the internet. She took breaks from social media. She stepped back from the spotlight at times. And in interviews, she started talking about something that the industry often ignores: the mental health crisis among young performers. Courtney wasn't alone in this struggle. Many child stars and young performers face similar challenges. They experience rapid success, intense pressure, and then the difficult reality of trying to maintain that momentum while also trying to grow as a person. Some handle it. Some don't. Some disappear from public life entirely. What made Courtney's story different was that she was honest about it. She didn't pretend everything was perfect. She acknowledged the difficulty. She talked about anxiety, about pressure, about what it feels like to have millions of people invested in your success or failure. Simon Cowell, for his part, continued to support her publicly. He believed in her talent. But even his belief couldn't shield her from the realities of the industry or from the internal struggles that come with sudden fame. There's a difficult truth here that Simon's tears represented without saying it directly. The industry loves to discover young talent, but it often doesn't know how to protect it. We celebrate the moment of discovery. We cry at the performance. But what comes after, the actual support and protection that a young person needs, that's often missing. Courtney's story became a case study in that disconnect. Yet her journey also revealed something about resilience and authenticity. Years have passed since that moment when Simon Cowell's tears fell during America's Got Talent. Courtney Hadwin is no longer 14. She's grown up in the public eye, which is never easy. She continued making music. She released an EP called Awaken in 2019, which showed her evolving as an artist. The music was mature, introspective, and honest about her experiences. It wasn't the same as that viral AGT performance, but it was something deeper. It was Courtney figuring out who she actually was, separate from the hype. She performed at various venues and continued building her craft. But she also made a choice that many young performers make. She stepped back from the constant grind of viral fame. She wasn't chasing TikTok trends or trying to stay in the headlines. She was simply trying to be an artist. In interviews, Courtney has talked about the impact of sudden fame. She's spoken about anxiety, about the pressure, about what it felt like to have your teenage years play out on the internet. But she's also talked about gratitude for the opportunity, for people like Simon who believed in her, for the experience that shaped her. What's important to understand is that Courtney's story didn't end with that standing ovation. It evolved. She evolved. The girl who walked onto that stage in 2016 isn't the same person she is today. She's been tested by the industry. She's dealt with pressure that most people never experience. And she survived it. Simon Cowell's tears represented something real, a moment of genuine human connection in an industry that often lacks it. He saw a young girl's courage, and it moved him. That moment was authentic. But it was also just one moment in a much longer, much more complicated story. Courtney Hadwin's legacy isn't about winning a competition or achieving a specific level of fame. It's about surviving the machinery of the entertainment industry while maintaining her authenticity. It's about being honest about the struggle. It's about showing that you can be talented and celebrated and still face real, difficult challenges. Many people watching have gone through moments where life didn't go as planned, where success came with unexpected costs, where you had to figure out who you were beneath the expectations others placed on you. If you've ever faced something similar, you're not alone. Your journey matters just as much as any viral moment. If you're enjoying stories that reveal what really happened behind the headlines, make sure you subscribe because the next story on this channel reveals something even more surprising, a tale of another young performer whose life changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The entertainment industry has many stories like Courtney's. Stories of talent, pressure, resilience, and the ongoing search for authenticity in a world that often demands performance. Her story is just one of them. But it's a story worth knowing, a reminder that behind every viral moment is a real person, with real struggles, and real strength. Thank you for watching. The next story is waiting.